I am live and I'm reading out of Return to Elysium. I had started this chapter, Tyrian Purple, which is chapter 8 of the first part of this journey of Lucina. It's a life of Joan Grant. She was a seer and a writer of her own far memories, and this plays in Greece, 2nd century BC. We just had the threat of a plague, and Agamemnon had it, as they think, but he is better. And they were talking afterwards that he was hungry. Anyway, she is asking where Cleon is. That is Lucina. Cleon, said Euripides vaguely. He was here a moment ago. There's nothing wrong with him. There is nothing wrong with any of us. I had a pain in my stomach yesterday, but it was only because I ate some mussels, which were a little stale. I feel quite well this morning. How silly of you. I hope you had the sense to drink salt water until you were thoroughly sick. I did, as you wish to know the nauseating details. I assure you I did not eat them from greed, only to keep myself from starvation, due to Epicurus being too occupied with thinking of food for you and the invalid to have any consideration for the rest of us. I suppose you were too lazy to cook anything for yourself. Not too lazy, too busy, he said, really offended. Too preoccupied with the melancholy task of writing your funeral ode. It would have been my masterpiece, chanted at sunset while the pyre flamed as a torch to light you to the company of the immortals. I should have used scented oils to anoint your body. Luckily, I found some in the chest you left in the main room. And what part was Agamemnon to play, or did you let him live because you needed him as one of the mourners? I think you are showing supreme ingratitude. We have tortured ourselves with the thought of your untimely death. Already we had endowed you with some of the attributes of a goddess, and in a few years we should have been convinced that you dwelt serenely on Olympus. And now you are proving yourself only the clay from which the sculpture makes a promise in which fools believe. He sighed. The world is the place of disillusion. It was unnecessary to create Hades. He was trying to break the tension and bring me back to normal, but I still saw myself as a heroine who had rescued Agamemnon from death, or perhaps I was too tired to appreciate any attempt at humor. To my shame, I started to cry. Not the kindly tears which slide slowly down the cheeks and darken the lashes, but noisily, with my mouth open. Suddenly Cleon was there, saying, "Sometimes, Euripides, I should like to hit your silly face so hard that it would hurt you too much to open your mouth for months. Go and tell Epicurus to take Agamemnon something to eat. He's quite all right, and Lucina needs looking after now. Hurry, you fool, I'll help you to run." I clung around Cleon's neck as he carried me down to the beach, away from the people who did not understand, away from the house where I had waited for death to come through the door. I cried until my nose would not let me breathe properly, until my face was swollen and ugly, and yet it did not matter. Cleon was the one person with whom it was safe to be only me. I told him about the sword and how I knew Agamemnon would get well as soon as I had broken the spell. Asclepius will try to explain it all away with long, clever words, but I know it was real, much more real than ordinary things. Don't let Asclepius pretend it wasn't important. It was the real reason why Agamemnon was always fighting. He thought it was his father's sword he had betrayed, that it was modern soldiers to whom he had to prove his courage. But it was much further back in time. I don't know how long, I think 2 or 3 centuries. He was always afraid, not only when he had one of his moods. The sword was waiting to fall on him, much more dangerous than spiders, much stronger than clever explanations by philosophers. Cleon tried to comfort me. Asclepius will understand. He must understand when we all tell him that Agamemnon was dying until this happened. You can't destroy something which has saved a man from death. He will say, I only found a way to stop Agamemnon being afraid. He will be so terribly reasonable, as he was when I felt happy because I thought mother was safe with my father. I didn't mind where she was. I only wanted to be sure they were somewhere together, that all her loving had not been wasted. Love is never wasted. Isn't it life, Lucina? Isn't it the only thing which is stronger than death? You won't let Asclepius take the certainty away from me. Please, Cleon, don't let him take that away. No one can take it away, and if you ever forget, I shall try to remind you. So this is the end of this chapter, and the chapter 9 is the chapter entitled The Scabbard. Today is Monday, the 6th of November.